All right, hey everybody. Gonna give it just an extra second tonight. Just another second, everyone. Okay, will the secretary please call the roll to verify the presence of a quorum?
Of course, if you just bear with me one quick second.
Oh, apologies, Madam Secretary, my computer sound was off.
Of course, if you just bear with me.
Yes,
one quick
apologies.
Second.
And I also need to. Okay. At 2 p.m., this meeting will be called to order. The secretary will now call the roll to verify the presence
Apologies,
of a
Madam
quorum.
Secretary, my computer.
Alrighty, Jack Pernick.
Present.
Daniel Ernst.
Present.
Matt Chiliak. Ella Gardner, present. Ben Cohen.
Present. Hello.
Abby Taylor. Tariq. Eli Senish. Anna Duffy.
Present.
Alex Ponte Capellan. Catherine Aronson Ensign. And I see we have two new members with us whom are not on my quorum list, but Jacob Chaplin is here.
Apologies, Madam Secretary. Mr. Chaplin for Central Mass was sworn in at the last meeting. I've not yet had time to update the registrar.
All right, let me do that.
Much appreciated.
But we have established that a quorum is present.
Very well, thank you. All right, thank you everyone for coming in tonight. Good turnout. And I will just ask the secretary if she could just briefly send a message to the members that are not here to attempt to bring them here. All right, well, thank you very much, everyone. First things first, obviously, as the secretary has pointed out, joining us tonight is Mr. Levi Bevis, who comes to us by way of many different places. I'll let him introduce himself in just a moment. Well, there we go. And I'll just ask the secretary to update the record to reflect that Abby Taylor of Western Mass is present. He joins us tonight, and I have transmitted to the secretary a letter which you will now hear read.
Sent on December 12th, 2021. Madam Secretary, As the secretary will note, on Sunday, November the 21st, the committee voted to declare several caucus seats to which no member had been appointed over the last 6 months vacant at the meeting. For all of those seats, I asked members of the committee to recommend any person belonging to each of the caucus or chapters to fill the seats. And whereas recently, for diverse, difficulty, and pressing reasons, a member of the committee is needed to more accurately and completely represent the Commonwealth, I write to you today to notify you that pursuant to Rule 2, Section 2 of the Standing Rules of the Committee, I've appointed Catherine Aronson Ensign to fill the remainder of the term for the YDMA Political Committee seat representing the Women's Caucus effective December 12th, 2021. And excuse me, I apologize sincerely. The name on that was wrong. It reads Levi Bevis. Excuse me.
That's my apologies. I sent 4 letters at the same time.
That's it.
My apologies. Yes, members designate will present themselves to the desk to take the oath, which will now be transmitted to you, hopefully. Madam Secretary, do you have that oath?
I do. I came prepared. Hold on one second while I pull
Thank
it
you
up.
very much.
No problem. Alrighty. Do you, Levi Bevis, affirm that you will represent, to the best of your ability, the caucus or chapter you are representing, and that you will support the business of the political committee, and that you will uphold the code of conduct and the values of YDMA at all times in this committee?
I do.
All right, thank you very much and congratulations. Levi, if you'd just like to take a minute to introduce yourself so that everyone can get to know you, we can learn who you are, where you're from. Please go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. Hello, everyone. My name is Levi Bevis. I use he, him pronouns. I am originally from Alabama. I grew up on a cattle farm in the middle of nowhere, just outside of Florence in the far northwest corner of the state. I attended the University of Mississippi, where I graduated in 2019 with a bachelor's in public policy leadership. After that, I moved to DC, where I worked with Representative Sean Patrick Maloney. I managed his LGBTQ plus portfolio and did a lot of work with the LGBTQ Equality Caucus in the House. I also have experience interning with Senator Feinstein in the Senate from California. And then I also worked on a campaign in November 2020 to support Sarah Gideon in Portland, Maine. So a lot of experience. I've been a card-carrying Democrat since I was 17, and I was the only person in my high school that was part of the party. So I'm very excited to join you all and see what you all do. And I look forward to getting to know you all better over the coming weeks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Levi, it's great to have you here. Without objection, the minutes from the last meeting will stand approved. Is there any objection? Okay, without objection, I will start out with a report myself. As many of you will know, our questionnaire was in fact approved by the board of directors. And we are just about ready to post that live, but I wanted to bring the discussion here for a moment to talk about if we wanted to do it the way that we had via Google form, or if we want to try and integrate that directly into our website to try and give it a little bit more of a formal appearance, try and make that process look a little bit more official running through our website. I was looking at, if anyone saw the NARAL policy pledge that went out for the municipal cycle, the way that they streamlined that through with their custom branding on everything looked really effective. And moreover, people could share the link directly and it wasn't a Google Forms link. It had our website on it and branding, especially for candidates that, and this will happen in the State House and Senate, that are learning about us for the first time because they're looking for our endorsement, trying to present the best foot forward, but it also will require a little bit more time to do. I wanted to just get people's thoughts on that first. So just open up the floor there. Ben?
I think that's a great idea. Sorry about that. I think if at all possible, we should try to streamline the process. And I remember last time there was some concerns about the way that the form was circulated. So I think anything we can do to make it more accessible and ease the access of the candidates or the campaign manager, whoever is going to be filling out the form, is a step in the right direction. So I favor putting it on the website if it's not too much work.
Yeah, good point. Mainly, and it is fair to admit, any kind of opinion on whether that or we stick with Google
Mr.
Forms?
Chair, I don't know if it's just on my end, but you
Daniel?
are dramatically breaking up.
Yeah, no, don't worry, Daniel. Mine too.
Yeah, so yeah.
I am also working on
Same.
a fix at the moment. Much
All right, so that it sees that the chair seems to be technologically incapacitated at the moment. As the secretary, I will go ahead and continue to open the floor to any member that would like to share their opinion on this issue. And it looks like our beloved chair is back. Say something.
Is this where, okay, there we go. Thank you.
There
I
you
was
go.
receiving messages from multiple people at the same time saying I'm completely and totally frozen, which is great. Always a good message to get. All right. Again, as I think Ella was pointing us in the direction, anyone else who has an opinion? If not, I will go ahead and just assume that Ben's is the prevailing opinion, and we're going to go with an integrated online distribution this cycle. Yeah. All right. Excellent. Oh, Daniel. Oh, I'm sorry, Daniel. I had just, yes. Sorry about that, Daniel.
No worries. I just had a quick question on it because I absolutely am in favor. I love Ella's done a good facelift on the website. I think the natural next step is when people are seeking an endorsement, they see a great website, not Google's stuff. My one question is, based off of the stuff you've looked at thus far, what would the ramifications, if any, be in terms of how we get the responses? What they would look like on our end, because we want to, given our form, I do want to make sure we can easily read them.
Yeah, no, that is a very good point. The good news about doing online integration is that we could have that print straight into a PDF, which was not possible with Google Forms. So that would actually be probably better. One integration that
Fantastic.
I would love to get, though it would be super busy, is if people saw the way that the Blue Slip process is working on Slack, where it posts directly into Slack, completely automated. I don't know. I think this concern has been raised. We'll create a new channel for that on Slack to make sure that it isn't bombarding people and people can mute that when they don't want to see it. But it is a nice kind of option to have it come instantly as well. But that is something that we can hopefully sort out. It can't be worse than Google Forms is my initial inclination, is that process was already so difficult that it can't be worse. All right, so with that, I think we're just going to assume that Ben's there is the prevailing opinion, and I will take that course of action. Yes? Okay, I did get advance notice from the secretary that she has a resolution to move. So I'll just call her if she'd like to do that at this time so we can have that introduced.
Yep, just bear with me 1 second while I pull that up. And alrighty.
Actually, Madam Secretary, I'm very sorry.
That's okay.
I've skipped through a matter of our order of business, which in fact we do have tonight. We don't always have the pleasure of it. We have a financial services subcommittee report coming at us with estimations, actually not estimations at all, live cash on hand figures and donor information from some of the larger candidates which we're considering. And so we'll have the chair of that subcommittee go ahead and deliver that report now, Ben. Thank you.
All right, awesome. The best way to do this, do I have the ability to share screen here?
Excellent question indeed. Yes.
Okay, let me just open it up real quick. Oh shoot, this is interesting because I'm on my laptop, so it's more zoomed in. Just give me a second to set this up here.
Absolutely. And by way of stalling, I will also say municipal elections this year are indeed coming up much faster than people think. March begins the municipal election cycle, is the earliest one that I know of so far, and Jacob's nodding, so I assume Central Mass is even more, for more that have open town meeting style governments and representative town meetings. I just wanted to send out the notice to local chapters to send your chairs the blue slip if they want to see anyone get statewide endorsement. And also remind chapter chairs that they have full authority over municipal actions. So they don't need to wait for us or do anything. One other quick thing, and this is especially to groups, chapters that do endorsements, make sure if you're sending out a form to state House or Senate candidates, that they are receiving the full statewide questionnaire, because they cannot receive endorsements if they don't fill out that form. They don't need to submit it to us. They just need to submit it to you. But if you're sending out a form to state House or Senate candidates or anyone else that falls under our original jurisdiction, make sure they get an answer, the full form. You can hold on to that until they want a statewide endorsement. Yeah. All right. Sufficient stalling?
Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
The
Let me just,
subcommittee chair.
Share my screen real quick here. So for those who haven't seen my report so far, this is what it looks like. We've got a fair few things tallied here, including total money raised, and then some breakdowns such as on which days do they raise it on, how many max donors do they have, how many repeat donors they have, that kind of stuff. Where is the majority of their money coming from? Is it coming from in-state, out-of-state, where in the state, that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to let you all look at this pretty quick. I've got two reports here, one for the governor's race and one for the state auditor's race, which I know are kind of the two of the larger ticket things that we're considering this year. Of these so far, I don't have too much to report. They all look pretty standard stuff here. I'll pull up the cash on hand figures also that I sent to Jack, which shows a little more about the current state of the governor's race, but pretty much what it is for that. This is all pretty standard stuff, but it seems Healy's pretty far ahead in fundraising, with then Allen and Deal being close behind and Chang Diaz being a little behind that. And then for the auditor race, overall, DeZoglio and Dempsey are very close as well. So much to do about nothing overall for these two races at this point.
Excellent. Anyone have any questions for Ben on the financial status of any of those races? And again, we're looking at a governor and auditor here, since the lieutenant governor's field is still emerging.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions for Ben?
All right.
If not, I think Daniel's got something. Bad timing.
I would just like to go on record and say that the lieutenant governor race should be done, please. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
certainly. Certainly. And so we will task the subcommittee again with that, to get that out there. Yes, unfortunately and unfortunately, that had to be pushed back because we had a DreamHost issue with our emails. And so while Senator Lesser had confirmed to me, the emails were destroyed in the process, which was a fun experience. I still actually don't have access to my YDM email directly, so that has been fun working all that out. But yes, that is in the works. They will be at our next meeting. Yes, okay. So any other, I don't suppose the campaign services committee has a report that I'm missing, do I?
Sorry, Jack, just real quick, just going to share these numbers. So this is my very official report to Jack on for the current cash on hands for the candidates as of December. So you can see pretty similar stuff. Yeah.
Certainly no pictographic information there is characteristic of any statements or policy positions of the chair, certainly. Yes, all right, thank you very much. That is a great summarization of the race there to get that in. And I think will be more influential in our governor figures. Like you were saying, our state auditor figures appear to be more or less a wash, yes? Yeah. Anna?
Ben, I don't know if you could pull it up again real quickly, but I was looking at it. I think the first, one of the first things that mentioned is average donation size, and the one for Chris Dempsey was $40,000, and Diana DeZoglio was like $8,000.
Wow. That
Average
is a-
monthly average donation size. It's under requested by. So can that be explained? That huge difference?
Yeah.
MC's burning cash, perhaps?
Yeah.
Is that the expenditures are just that much higher per month?
Yeah, I think I think that either points to Dempsey spending more, or simply, I think DeZoglio has been a candidate on the
she rolled over
OCPF
her
for
Senate.
longer. Yeah. So I think it might just be the fact that, DeZoglio has many more months on record. Not every month a candidate's going to be raising funds. So might just be, DeZoglio has had more off summers, or I don't know, what's the off season? I guess summers, non-election years, I guess. So I'm not exactly sure. I could refine it if you want to be, the by month for this cycle. That might be more helpful than this.
Yeah, I don't want to create more work for you. It's whatever's easiest for you. I was just curious exactly what that came
expenditures
from.
does sound like a good thing to have. Mr. Daniel Ernst.
So I will acknowledge I'm on the subcommittee, so I'm happy to help with this next question because I know it's going to bring more work, but I'd be very curious looking at the percent of money from in-state, what the breakdown looks like out of state. Like, is all of this coming from, Danielle Allen really comes to mind looking at that 41.5%. Is that because everything's coming from New York? California, is it really spread out? Like what does that look like? Same thing. In the Dempsey versus DeZoglio race, that 8-point difference. So just be curious about that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you both of you very much for your feedback. I'm always looking for ways to improve this. As you can see on line 5 here, I don't just use this for YDMA. I use this for many different groups. So I'm always looking to improve it. And yeah, Daniel, we can definitely take a look at that in the subcommittee.
That would be great. And so if we could just have the subcommittee report at our next meeting with those enhancements, that would be fantastic, because I think that we are, it's been very helpful even just delving into that here. Excellent. Okay. So at this point, I will just check if there are any resolutions that have been referred by committee. We'll take those first. To my knowledge, there's been none. Okay, then we'll move to resolutions generally. And the secretary did, yes, and much appreciation to Ben, I will take some onus here. I did ask for a very brief summary because I wanted to keep this meeting as short as possible. But thank you very much, Ben. So I know that Ella had flagged with me that she had a resolution. If she's inclined to move that now, she may.
Alrighty.
Okay.
So I am moving for consideration for committee resolution number 20, providing for an endorsement of Christopher Dempsey of Brookline to be auditor of the Commonwealth.
I'll ask consent that the reading be waived. Is there any objection? Without objection, the reading is waived and this is placed on file. Is there any objection to its consideration? All right, without objection, the resolution can be considered. I will move to lay it upon the table. Is there a sufficient second?
Seconded.
Seconded. Those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no.
Aye.
In the opinion shed, the ayes have it, and that is laid upon the table, along with, I will note for our new members, Resolution 18, endorsing Diana DeZoglio. So we now have both of those entered onto the record, so we can choose to proceed now at any time to take up either of those two for committee deliberations. I have a resolution on rules changes. So I will just note for the record, the reason for moving the time of the meeting up to 6 p.m. And for attempting to try and get more effort there is we have Ty Gamble Eddington, who's a representative for our Black Caucus, is at school in the UK right now. So he, of course, has that 5-hour time difference. And so while he's been able to join us, it has been because he is staying up extraordinarily late in order to do so at those meetings. So in addition to trying to move the meeting up so it's not quite so late, I also have a resolution to amend the rules to allow for proxy voting. This can't be voted on for another 7 days, but I wanted to introduce this now so we can have discussion on it and speak generally. 19, speak generally about if we want to pursue this process. I've proposed a very limited form of proxy voting, which is the same form used by the Greater Boston Executive board of directors. So it is consistent with what YDMA has used in the past. And so I'll move to introduce this, and I'll go ahead and just read the whole thing for ease. Whereas the full representation of this committee is essential to the democratic process of considering candidates for endorsement, resolved that the following be inserted after Section 6 of Rule 10 voting procedure. Section 7, should a member expect an absence to occur at a future session of the board, and that actually should read committee, they may file a proxy letter designating a member to vote on their behalf with their agreement, provided that no member may cast more than 2 votes on any question. Any member casting a proxy vote shall announce such during a roll call to the chair. And I will just ask consent to make that modification so it reads committee. Is there any objection? With that objection, the modification is made. So this will allow a person to designate one person as their proxy. That person may then serve as a proxy for only one person. So we do avoid the situation where someone could be casting like 3, 4, 5 votes, which I know we want to avoid. But it will allow notably Ty and also Matt, who frequently works at this hour, to just in cases where they absolutely must miss a meeting because of scheduling, it allows that to take place. And also Abby, who's able to join us tonight, but I know frequently works at this time. So just to make sure everyone's voice is heard, that is in there. Pursuant to the amending rules, this cannot be voted on at this session. It requires 7 days. So I will move to lay this item upon the table. Is there any objection to doing so? That objection, resolution 19 is laid upon the table. Okay, that being said, at this time, under the provisions of closed proceedings, I will move that the committee do now sit in executive session in order to discuss the terms, conditions, and race settings along the office of Secretary of the Commonwealth. Is there a sufficient second to the motion? Seconded. Okay, the question is that the committee do now sit in private in a closed session in order to discuss the race of Secretary of the Commonwealth. Those in favor of entering executive session will say aye.
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 Those opposed, no. Okay, the ayes have it.